Welcome to the Renegade Contacts podcast, where I talk to fellow performers about performing, what performance means to them, and any little anecdotes along the way. This week I got to talk to Sara Jade Davidson, who prefers to be called Jade. I mistakenly called her Sarah many's a time. But this week we got to talk about Jade's left tit. We talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger, bodybuilding, kinks, AI mums, comedy, a mummy called Takabuti, and a hell of a lot else, actually. We talked about quite a lot in this episode, and it was an absolute joy and pleasure to have Jade around to help me out with the podcast. So I hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoyed recording it. And with no further ado, I will leave you with Sara Jade Davidson. So, Sara Jade Davidson?
David.
Davidson. Son of David.
David. The son of David.
Yeah. And you prefer Sarah?
Jade.
I knew it was one or the other, and I had a 50-50 chance of getting it right.
You failed.
Jade, I did. I failed fucking horribly. So, no. I so far what I've been doing with people is I've just been talking about performance, but I have a question for you to start with. How's your left tit?
It's all right. She's doing well.
You told that story a wee bit the other night.
About having to go to get a mammogram because I was getting pains and being...
Scar tissue?
Yes, being worried there was something awful, and it's scar tissue from...
Wow. Can you break that up then? Is that something that...
Well, yeah, it seems to be alright now. It's from wearing the wrong bra for...
Yeah, I know, I've done that. I know I
think it was 20 years. 20 years.
What age was I? 34? And I went for my first bra measuring, and I was the same. I was like 5 fucking sizes different.
That's the first time I've ever done it as well. And then when I went and seen the doctor, they were like, the first thing to do is go and get a bra fitting, because this is usually what this is caused by.
Wow.
And I was like, alright.
You think they'd tell us this shit when we're growing up?
But this is again, it's this thing again where they don't tell us anything. We don't know about our menopause, we don't know about our periods, we don't know about our tits, we don't know anything.
We don't know anything. Like,
Nobody tells
We've just been practicing on men for fucking generations, and you're like, oh, we'll leave the more complicated body alone. Just fucking ignore that one.
Never mind her. And our way.
Sure, she's only got woman troubles.
Woman troubles. I've got scar tissue now all of one teat.
Oh, and it's just the one, is it?
Yeah,
the other one's kind of okay.
This one seemed to be taking it all right.
This is
the harder one.
It's your tough tit.
This is a tough tit. This is Danny DeVito. And Mrs. Arnie.
Oh man, I don't think anyone's made a twins reference since the 80s.
I think someone told me about that actually. Because I was like asking a comedian talking about performance. I was like, what's a good comparison? Like Quasimodo. What was the hero called in The Hunchback? And then someone was like, what about Arnie and
Danny?
Danny. And I was like, never did it on stage because I was like, I don't know if anyone below the age of like.
Well, I think when I saw it, it was like TV movie at that stage. I don't think I remember it being in the cinema.
No,
but,
see, that's what I mean, like...
But there was a spate of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies around that time, including like Kindergarten and just weird. What will we do? We'll take the world's premier body lifter and put him in a kindergarten. What else will we do? Oh, we'll make him twins with Danny DeVito.
Here, Kindergarten Cop. No, that's a good show. It's one of those movies.
Kindergarten Cop. That's it. He was undercover.
He was undercover. Well, it's like the most mental story as well. Yeah. He goes undercover as a nursery school teacher, kindergarten in America, because one of the kids...
Garden of Children.
I just thought it was a really weird word. One of the kids' fathers is a wanted criminal. And that's how you get them.
Yeah.
You teach their children.
And there's not going to be any bias there whatsoever between the criminal child.
No, the criminal
child of the criminal. Yeah. No, that's... Yeah, and they really got away with it. Oh, do you remember the Arnold Schwarzenegger where they got him pregnant?
Yes!
That's the
What's
fucking
that?
weirdest one.
What's that one called?
Was it an accident or something? I don't even know how this becomes an accident, but they're like... Because I don't think his character wanted to be pregnant.
No, he
there was
wasn't
a
going.
sort
He
of-
wasn't
yeah.
wondering why his bit of IVF hadn't worked.
Yeah. He hadn't signed up for it. Like, something
no, what
something
was
went
that?
wrong and he ended up...
I feel like that was, that was another, that
probably
was like
just call something like Daddy or...
Daddy Daycare. That was like, I was thinking about it as a movie. That like has definitely the theme of all those movies running together. Do weird shit to a massive Austrian man. Americans will love it.
The more masculine he is, let's make
him
him
do
fucking
weird things.
impregnate him and like make him look after babies. It is very fucking weird. I now feel like I have to go back and watch all those Arnold Schwarzenegger movies just to...
I think I did watch Kindergarten Cop recently because it is one of those ones that was on and I will find myself sitting watching it. And there is a bit in it that like cracks me up every time when all the small children are going mental and like he's trying to like sort them out and he can't do it and then he picks one up and he goes, "Why are you doing this?" This tiny child. Why are you doing this?
He's a funny guy, is Arnie. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, I watched that documentary with him. I do quite like him. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's self-aware.
Yeah, and I think he knew that when he was going for governor of California, he was fully aware of what he was doing there as well. Like,
yeah.
You know, and they were interviewing people in America and going, why would you vote for him? And they were going, yeah, absolutely, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, why would you vote for him? Well, he seems very competent in his movies. And you're like...
That one where he was pregnant.
You know those are heavily edited, right?
He was a really good kindergarten teacher.
He was an exceptional, and I mean, now that he has that experience behind him, he's going to understand education. Is the documentary any good? Is it worth watching?
It was quite good, actually, yeah. I mean, it went
not very little about him, apart from him being Mr. World at some point.
One of the things I did really take from it was, I now understand bodybuilding.
Right.
Because I couldn't understand it.
Like why they would do it.
Yeah, and I think his type of bodybuilding is very different from the gym guy you see now.
Yeah.
That is more of a sort of vanity thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when he was talking about it, it was about sculpting art or something. He had a very more like
like turning
creative,
himself into a living sculpture.
Yes, and like a more creative sort of idea about it.
I find it weird.
It's
not.
weird.
I don't find it attractive.
Oh no.
Weird.
And I do find like people that find that attractive weird.
Yeah.
Like this big sweaty,
lumpy.
They're
so lumpy.
And I knew a couple of bodybuilders, and they're like, what they do is amazing. Like the effort it goes into it, but I can't say. I mean, you always sort of look like you're expanding from yourself.
Yeah, like someone's pumping you up from the inside, like,
and it
ready
sort of
to
looks
pop.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's not the same as sort of physically fit, just as more like, what's the word for it again?
You've gone out the other side of physically fit, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've kind of passed through healthy and into fucking weird.
Mass. Whereas they did seem to have that sort of thing, like, and there was weird moments in it where, like, you know, there's just all these semi-naked guys standing around in the gym and posing, and they're like, yeah.
I love your lats, dude.
Oh yeah.
The
symmetry is incredible. I was like, that is so weird. But
So if they're focused on symmetry, they'd have to be like, oh, this arm needs another 5 reps.
Yeah, they were doing things like that, and they were like getting the body completely even and things like that. And that old school bodybuilding seemed
not
to be
just to be big, but to be perfectly symmetrical.
Seemed to be more about that. Whereas like now I do think it is a wee bit different now. It does look like people are just like...
Yeah. I had a guy say to me, a bit of a misogynist, he was a massive fucking misogynist, but he said to me, he was arguing with me about what women found attractive, and I was like...
Oh, because he knows.
Because you know, yeah, clearly from your, very fucking female perspective. And he was saying women love big men. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, women love huge, muscly men. And I was like, that's so rare. Very few women like that.
I think that is rare, actually. I think it is.
Yeah.
And women are just people in general that tend to be into that look, tend to
be
into that look themselves.
They're,
do you know what I mean?
in the gym and they're building.
Yeah, that's why I would that's what I would sort of find off-putting about it. I was like, I'd do that.
I asked him to give me an example and he said Khal Drogo, and I was like, that dude is pretty. If he was skinny as fuck, he'd still be pretty. You know, it's not.
Yeah, I do think that like guy, what do you call him? What's his name?
Oh, Jason Momoa.
I do think there's also a personality thing with Jason Momoa.
He's such a sweetheart.
I think people.
I don't like big guys, but I like Jason.
Yeah, see, it wouldn't be my type either, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I quite like him. He seems funny. He seems to have a humour about himself.
Yes.
Whereas I think
very chill, sort of humble.
I think he kind of just happens to be big.
Yeah. I think if women were genuinely attracted to big men, then the Hulk would be sexy as fuck. And nobody finds the Hulk.
Nobody finds the Hulk
sexy. Well, look at him.
I reckon there is. I mean, if you can think it, it's on the internet.
There's definitely Hulk porn out there.
There's definitely Hulk porn. Whoa. If you can think it, I think it lives.
Yeah.
You've actualized it.
Like, God, did we just actualize it? Did it just pop into existence?
There
on
is
the
things like
internet
that
now?
people say, and then I'm like, that exists. You think you're being wild, but whatever it is, it's out there.
The internet terrifies me in that respect. It's like, I don't think we should have unfettered access to our fantasies. I just don't think we should. I think there should be a limit.
Yeah.
I think it's just like somebody has to know.
At some point, there should be there's just to be there's someone just somewhere where someone types in the last thing.
Like we all have an assigned mum somewhere on the an AI mum that just goes, that's enough. Yeah, no more.
I think that isn't a bad idea. I mean, I'm all for people.
Yeah, I'm a libertarian.
Being able to explore things and very good, but I do know what you mean. That at some point it's like. You don't have to fuck it.
This is not good for you.
You don't have to fuck it.
Yeah. You don't need to buy that thing and put your penis in it. Just don't do it.
Just now it's become too much of an option. You don't have to. Be alright.
Oh, I don't even want to think of some of the stuff that's out there. It's fucking nuts. It's like I found porn on my ex's computer and it was tame as fuck compared to what a lot of stuff is, but I was still kind of like, ugh. I was like, did not need to know that about him.
I think it's just sort of an accepted thing now that you're just everyone watches porn.
Yeah.
But
I have done. I don't now. I don't find it
I think it is more of a struggle for women.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of modern pornography is very, sort of based in sort of a more degrading or degrading sort of sexual experience for women.
Yeah.
Especially when it's aimed at men.
Yeah, because if you think about it now, 70s porn was just so fucking tame.
70s porn was just people fucking.
Yeah, as a dude turns up with a pizza, they fuck.
Bring that back. You made it too.
Bring back the different boobs and the full bush and
just normal fucking.
Normal fucking. Bring it back.
Bring it back. It doesn't have to be. What's this over here? There's a plane and there's a thing and there's
there's 10 men and a girl who looks like a 10-year-old, but it's okay. She's 18.
She's
you're like, oh. And this guy has to dress like a fucking wolf. While 3 people peg him and somebody else watches.
Yeah. And it's all just...
Do you know what I found out about recently? Vorism. Which is the sexual excitement at the thought of being consumed whole. Someone just like a hot dog. But yeah, and there's another one.
See, that's too specific.
It's so specific.
We all need to just we bring back hardly ever or something.
Yeah.
We've got too much time on our hands.
That's why we need the AI mum to just go, look guys, it's gone too far.
Oh, do you know what it is? I've just found it. I want to be consumed whole. I'm very sorry to anyone out there that has this.
The same guy who was writing this article was also oh yeah, no, I absolutely love the concept of was it minimalism and macralism? So giant women and tiny him. So 50-foot women are sexy, presumably because they can pick them up and just pop them in their mouth like a Tic Tac.
Did he mention his relationship with his mother at any point?
It does beg the question, doesn't it? Like, what did your mum do to you, or not do to you, as the question might be.
Oh, that is...
It's weird, it's just gotten so conceptual now as well.
It's that's true, actually. It's like... Yeah. That's not something that he's ever going to be able to enjoy experiencing.
No. You would have to be a billionaire and like build a robot 50-foot woman. Some fucker's done that.
Eat
you, yeah.
You should watch what's that? Attack on Titan. He'd like a...
Yeah, they eat people all the time, don't they? They're fucking huge.
That'd be
sexy.
Something for him that he since he's never going to be able to have that in his life.
What do you do? Like, what do you have to be looking at to get to that stage, I wonder? Because I don't, like, there's none of that makes any sense to me. I'm just like, I like men, I like them naked, I like shagging them. That's kind of as far as it goes. And I might have a few little kinks, you know, with a bit of bondage or whatever. But that's kind of as far as it goes.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. No, yeah. Like, yeah, like, I just...
How do you get there? Show me the roadmap.
He must have gone through some stuff to end up there.
I do think mums have a lot to do with it. Like, men's relationships with their mums seem to have a really profound effect on them.
Yeah.
On some level.
I think just general relationships with our parents seem to have a profound effect on us.
And I suppose people, I do find that thing a bit weird. I don't know how we started talking about this, like why this is the conversation we're having, but...
Because you brought up like I wanted to be eaten by a 50-foot woman. I will die happy knowing that.
Yeah.
If I ever make any money...
so specific.
Like, I gotta give him the money to do that.
Yeah.
Because there is a sadness in me for him.
Yeah.
Because that's like
it's never gonna happen.
Non-thing for you.
Yeah. I'm happy that I'm vanilla.
Yeah.
I mean, I will get pleasure out of my life. It's great.
I have wrote things about that as well, like, it's, you know, if you have friends that are more sexually, what's the word for it? Not experienced, but, you know, adventurous.
Mm.
And I do just think...
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know friends that go to sex parties and
yeah.
And then they kind of talk about them and tell me what happened at it, and they're like, oh yeah, and then, you know, we just watched some people giving somebody else a blowjob, and you're just like, why? Does that, I don't know, maybe it's the voyeurism, I don't know.
Yeah, the voyeurism I could get into.
Yeah.
Because there's a laziness to that I appreciate.
Yeah. Have a nice sit down, cup
of tea,
have a
go
watch.
ahead.
But I'd just be like, wandering from room to room watching sweaty people shag each other is not my idea of a good night out.
I kind of feel a bit lonely as well.
Yeah.
I'd be a bit like, it's nobody else want to chat? Like, it just seems a bit...
Just give that a stop there for a second.
Go
Come
straight
over here and
into
sit
it,
down with me and like,
okay.
yeah. But also, like, with a lot of strangers as well. That's the weird part for me. I don't know, is it weirder if you know them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I don't know about that. I don't know where I'd be more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably be more comfortable with strangers.
Yeah. Like therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're more comfortable telling a stranger your darkest secrets because you might never see them again.
It's true, yeah.
Mm.
And like, well, I suppose it was comedy. The most off-putting thing I find is people I know in the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, there's things I found in comedy, like, there's jokes I want to tell, but then I'm like, oh no, will that hurt so-and-so's feelings if they know it's about them?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about them, it's about the funny situation, but I'm like, it's like my aunt is very religious. If she listens to this now, she'll probably fucking kill me. My aunt is very religious, and I don't find the fact that she's religious funny, because I understand why people have faith.
Yeah.
But I do find some of the concepts that she has a bit funny. And I don't want her to think that I would be taking the piss out of her for those concepts. Like, one of the ideas, and I had to look this up because this is actually a thing that Christians believe, Catholics believe, that each person has a guardian angel. I didn't realise this when she was telling me, because I just thought she was going, oh yeah, no, there's my guardian angel saving my car parking spot again. And I was like, is an eternal being who's lived for all infinity is waiting in a car park in Sligo. Just waiting for you to turn up. And yeah, standing in this car park spot and as other cars come along, it's like, no, this one's saved.
Seen through all existence and he's like, I can't believe this is what they have me doing.
What did he have to do to get that fucking job?
I do know what you mean. And I think, like, sometimes I've got, like, there's certain things that I'd say about my family and stuff like that. Because we've quite a sort of unusual background and unusual family dynamics that, like, a lot of the things I don't consider to be too much to share, but then sometimes I share them and then I see someone's face in the audience and they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's just sad.
And I'm like, really? I thought that was funny. Oh, so funny.
Like, ooh.
Alright. That complete stranger is feeling sorry for me. That sucks.
I know, especially with, like, my grandmother. There was some jokes I've been doing about my grandmother recently, and, like, she'll kill me if she ever hears them, but she's never gonna hear them. So it doesn't matter. She's like that. She's 81, and she's that 81-year-old that's just gone, I give 0 fucks.
Oh, I want to be that 81-year-old.
Anyone's opinion on shit. I am 81.
What are you gonna do?
And, like, she's really been owning it recently. And, like, I was at, like, a lunch with my mom and my sister at my granny, at my sister's house. And, like, we're all very different. We all don't really get on. We don't mesh particularly well as personalities. It's amazing we're related. But my granny wanted to clear up the dog poop or something from the garden. And my mum was like, I'm going to do it in a minute. Will you sit down? The food's ready. Just sit down. And out of nowhere, my granny just went, do you know what you could do, Shobi? Go fuck yourself.
I want to be that 81-year-old. I mean, why would you give a fuck at that age?
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. I was like, wow. Such an overreaction. So I was like telling that joke and I was like, she would be mortified if anyone had ever knew.
Yeah. Would she not behave that way outside of the home? Like, would she kind of, she has her limits.
Her outside voice.
Yeah, her outside voice. Yeah.
Her outside phone voice.
Yeah. No, my grandmother never got to that stage. No, she would take the piss out of people. She passed away a few years ago now. But she would take the piss out of people. Like my mother would say something and then my grandmother would say, pardon? And my mother would start shouting louder and, like, my grandmother clearly was just taking the piss out of her. Like, just trying to get her to fucking repeat herself. And my mother never got it and my grandmother would be sitting there with a little smirk on her face. So I was like, I don't even want to think about what your relationship was when my mother was growing up.
She's just enjoying. She's just getting her moment.
Yeah. There's so few little moments in the world now that I just have to take them when I can. But she also said, or not give my mother's name in case anyone, I don't know, fucking looks it up, I don't care. But let's say her name is Mary, it's not. But one time we went over to my grandmother's house when I was about 15. And she looks at my mother and she goes, cut your hair, Mary, you look like a hag. It's like, that is so fucking cold. That is so cold. Fucking hell. Yeah, I don't want to know what their relationship was like growing up. Oh, yeah. Parental relationships, eh? Those are always weird.
And this is how you end up with
ADHD. What? You were pointing at me and I was like, what do I have? What do I have?
Big where you want to be.
Oh yeah, the vorism. Yeah. I want to be consumed whole.
No, that's the worst. What? That's the worst one thus far.
It's fucking weird. It is fucking weird. There's weird ones.
Yeah, because there's a lot of these things that even though it's like the furry stuff and all that, there's not actually a great deal of it that's specifically sexual.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they've taken something completely non-sexual and sexualized it. Like, is their brain misfiring or so? Is everything sexy?
And then, like, back again. Because
Yeah.
sometimes they're just walking around dressed as a dog, like on a lead, but there's no...
Have you seen the guys in, like, the New York Pride parades, and they've got all the kink puppy gear on? Have you seen the puppy gear? So obviously this is really clearly a sexual fetish thing, because it's all leather and studs and tiny little pants and gimp masks. And then they're kind of like pretend to be a dog and go up and get petted by kids, and you're like, oh, it's a bit weird, guys. You get like, there's a line, I think.
It's getting too messy. I did see a documentary about it once, and it was about a guy that wanted to live as a dog. There were several people in it, like. But
I've seen those. The guys where they actually had a dog suit made.
Yeah, made for them. And, and he like just was like in the kitchen.
Is that a sex thing, or is that an identity thing?
Really seem to be from it. It seemed to be more like an identity thing, and he had a handler. Some fella.
You gotta be loaded to be that fucking weird. Because how could you afford to have someone play into that bullshit? Because you couldn't ask your mate. You wouldn't be like,
I do feel like
I'm gonna be Lassie. Would you give me a hand? No.
Expendable income breeds this type of thing, really, doesn't it?
Somebody's got to say no. Somebody's got to say.
But that didn't seem very sexual. It would seem more like.
Is it? Did he look like? Because I've seen one and he looked like a sort of sheepdog.
He looked like a Dalmatian.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a different one then. Oh my God, there's a community.
But there was like a bit in it where him and his handler, which sounds really weird, went to, what is it called?
Like a dog park or...
like a place it was somewhere in Eastern Europe, like a convention for dog people.
Oh wow.
And so I think there's a difference between what he was doing and some of the people that were there they were doing, which was specifically very sexual.
Right.
And he was way out of his depth.
This is not what I wanted.
Like these real Eastern European, like, I am dog man, I will fuck you.
They're probably like Russian oligarchs or something.
and then him just like as a poodle. Like
I just want belly rubs.
There's like a guy with like two other guys on chains, like assless chaps, and he's just like spotty. Like it was like, oh, that's the most British version of this, and this is Eastern European version. So I think there is like difference.
There's a scale.
There's a scale.
I know there's people who want to be dressed as babies and have like their nappies changed and stuff. And some of them describe... Why do I know all of this stuff? It's so upsetting. Some of them have described it as like, I just want to go back to a simpler time when my needs are completely fulfilled.
Well, I do feel like that is something that, from what I've seen, it seems to be predominantly done by like businessmen.
It's always fucking men. Well, it's not always, but there's a very small number of women buying into this bullshit.
Yeah, no, because this reminds me of a friend of mine who's a gay man. We were talking about something and I can't remember how we got onto it, but he just said, it's like one of those stinking straight man fantasies. And I was like, do you know what you're going to put there? They're just always there, like those stinking, like they're just like...
The weirdest shit.
You know, whenever it goes on about sort of like the sort of gay... The scene, like it must be really out there. And then you're like, look at what these straight guys are at the golf club.
It's mostly just dressing up and fucking for gay men, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just like normal consensual stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a hot dog eaten by a 50-foot woman.
I knew a guy who was into testicular torture. I like... And people are like, oh, there's a fine line between pleasure and pain. I don't think there is. I think there's a very fucking obvious difference. I don't know where you're getting your fine line.
I think the issue is if you find pain pleasurable. I think that's a different thing.
That's a different thing altogether. Fine line, my arse.
Because I think if you say that to most men, they would be like, Which seems to be very sensitive.
Leave my testicles alone, please.
Don't.
Like,
what's the thing? The sounding rod?
What's the sounding rod?
Isn't it because someone was talking about this recently, see, I had presumed, so I don't really know, that it's, I know this much anyway, that it's a long metal rod that goes down the penis.
Oh!
But I had thought...
The sounding rods.
I had thought, right, because of the name, that you must, like, ding.
Like a tuning fork.
Ding!
Yeah.
Cause some sort of vibration. But apparently that's not true. But apparently I just... But that was the image that I cultivated in my mind.
Because the vibrations might be nice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a sounding rod.
Maybe the sound is the screams of agony.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking knows? Yeah, one of those fucking weird straight men.
Straight man fantasies.
So, on a comedy perspective, how long have you been comedianing?
I think 11 years.
11 years.
11 years.
And what got you into it? How did you start?
Well,
Just
I did
open mics.
Well, I did drama in school, and I did like drama in university, and did some sketch work and stuff like that.
So you did so you have like a degree in drama?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Excellent. I love talking to people who have different bunch of skills in the background. Like,
I don't know if it's a skill.
It's just debt.
Debt. I've got
a
lot of debts, man. So I sort of got into it for doing that because I was doing sort of like comedy sketch shows and things like that, and community group work and stuff. And then a bunch of us that were just in one sort of sketch troupe heard about the Pavilion.
Okay.
And we're like, oh, does anyone want to go and try it? And Johnny Bow was one of the other people that did it with me.
Okay.
And then that's sort of how I got into it from there.
Brilliant. And so do you still do the theatre aspect of it, or did you kind of leave that behind?
I kind of left it behind. I haven't done it in a long time. It wasn't intentional.
It's harder to, like, I did a bit of theatre for a while as well. It's a lot harder to do because you have to organise yourself around other people. You have to go to specific event. Like with comedy, you're kind of turning up to do the show when you turn up to do the show. It makes things a lot easier. Even if you're really fucking unprepared like I am most of the time. But with the theatre, like, there's so much work goes into it.
And I just... It was never intentional. It just was sort of ended up, I couldn't... Nothing really came up to do it again, and then by that stage I was doing...
And you weren't putting yourself in for auditions, or...
No.
I don't think I'd like the life of the 3 months on, 3 months offness of being a theatrical performer.
No.
Yeah.
I think I only did it for like a small period of time, really, in comparison to other people, before I was sort of like... I preferred creating my own work.
Yeah.
I preferred, with the stand-up, that I was sort of in control of it.
Yeah, it's your own writing.
Yeah.
It's your own... Yeah. I do like about learning scripts, I think you learn a lot from it. I think you learn a lot from doing theatre and from reading other people's scripts and from embodying characters in that way. And I don't think I would be able to do what I do now if I hadn't done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely a good basis in understanding.
Yeah.
Performance, understand, especially as like with comedy. I think sometimes people just go, oh, it just has to be funny. And I'm like, well, that doesn't always work. Like, you need to perform it also. Like, you need to understand, like, how you're going to say this, how it comes across. Like,
and rhythm and pace and character and status, all of those matter.
And I was having, like, a conversation with someone recently. I was doing a show, and the show was sort of okay, but the audience were kind of, like, not great. And then one person got on and sort of changed the whole atmosphere of the room because they were just so like, right, this is what it is, come on, get on board or get off the train. And I was like, you have to sort of give an audience the confidence to have confidence in you.
Yes, yeah. You can't rely on the setup of the person before you, because you don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And you don't know what they're setting up, and maybe it's the wrong mood for what you do.
Yeah, and also I think comedians said, oh, that audience was rubbish.
Yeah, I've done this as a street performer as well, where I've come off and gone, oh shit audience, and you're like, no, you just had a bad fucking day.
And I'm like,
you did not connect.
Sometimes we just need you to be like a bit of communication with them, because I genuinely think a lot of the time audiences, especially with comedy, I don't know about street performance, but like, and theatre, I think they're nervous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, well, I suppose you don't want to be the first person to laugh as
Yeah.
well. You kind of you need to get everyone on board at the same time, or start with a sort of gentle joke.
Yeah. Like, very few people like to see someone die.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's awkward for them as well.
Yeah.
So I feel
It is
sorry
not,
for them occasionally.
I've been at shows where, like, I only go to shows I'm performing at, not because I'm a dick, because I just don't have the energy or time to go to other. Now I have a bit more energy and time, so I want to start going to those shows. But I've been at shows I'm performing at, and somebody is dying, and I still laugh because I want to be supportive.
Yeah.
I'm still like,
I still do the same thing.
That was an attempt. And even, like, there's been a few occasions where men have stood up and they're telling jokes from the 1950s. You know?
Yes.
And you're just like, oh, your wife is a ball and chain, is she? And you're sitting there going, oh, but I still, as a comedian, I still want to support you. I still want you to get up again. Hopefully not telling the same jokes, but I do want you to get up again.
I'm sort of perplexed by that sort of performer all the time as well, because I'm like, have you not heard? Have you not? But then I always think maybe they think that, like, they're the one guy that's going to get away with it.
I wonder if it's the type of comedy they watch, because I don't think it's actually honestly representative of their life either. It seems like they've got it from somewhere and then gone, oh, that's funny. Maybe it's like they hang out with their docker mates. And those are the jokes they tell, like, down by the docks.
I do think, and I've seen a comedian do it recently, a guy, and he was sort of telling those type of jokes, and I could see very much that that's not who he was.
Yeah.
And then there was it felt really weird, but also I could see that he was maybe trying to be like a character, and like he wasn't suggesting that he was the good guy.
Yeah.
In these opinions.
Yeah.
But it wasn't clear enough.
Like pretending to be like way too conservative or way too something to kind of send up the character, but you have to be really clear about that.
Yeah, and it sort of was like, I think it made everyone kind of awkward because everyone was sort of like,
what's happening?
What?
Your girlfriend's fat?
I was like, what? Okay.
You just kind of end up feeling sorry for their girlfriend by the end of.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think. I'm like, is that just a joke thing for them, or are they genuinely an asshole to their girlfriend at the end of the day?
Probably the worst thing I have ever seen was in a comedian that shall not be named made a strange choice. So he got on stage and was talking about how it'd be really weird to bring a first date to one of his shows.
Okay. Did he do that?
And then he was like, oh, who are you here with? And she was like, you.
What?
And it was their first date, and I was like, oh God, this is... I don't know.
That's weird.
And I was like, I don't know. And then he proceeded to read their text messages.
On the first date. Now, look, if that was a girlfriend and there had been some funny back and forth and they have been together for a while, you can see how maybe there's something that could be pulled out of that. But on a first date, you're just humiliating the person who has agreed to go out with you.
And then it was like, I don't know, there was part was going to go, ah, like, this could be a ruse, it could be it wasn't, but I got the distinct impression it was.
Do you think they got a second date?
No! Absolutely not.
Why would you do that?
Well,
is that arrogance? Is that him going, oh, she's going to find this fucking hilarious. I'm the funniest fucker on the planet.
I don't even know if that could be arrogance. Like, that's...
Yeah. Stupidity.
Because you can be arrogant and not completely unaware. I was like, that is a choice.
Yeah. I went to one recently where a guy had brought or invited his a first date. Now, I'd already met her, But he didn't involve her in the show at all, and he did quite well in his show, and then they seemed to have a lovely date afterwards. But I still kind of made me wonder, is that a good idea? Because the last thing I'd want to do is bomb in front of someone I had just invited. Now, he didn't. He did very well, but that's a risk you're taking, you know?
I mean, I don't know how that set ended, because I had to leave the room. I was just sitting right in front of me, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. This is like, Jesus
breathing
Christ.
in second-hand embarrassment here.
Like fainted.
Oh, I used to work in an escape room. I don't no longer work in that escape room, but I'm still in the escape room business, as it were. And there was this guy came in with his date, and she went, oh, excuse me, is there a loo? And I went, yeah, sure. And I told her where the loo was. And when she was gone, I was just having a bit of banter with him, and I was like, oh, so this is a date, is it? He goes, yeah, it's the first date. And I was like, oh, this is a really interesting choice. Like, you know, why would you bring her to an escape room? And I think he was going to show her how clever he was. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, dude, the only thing I can say to you, having watched a few of these dates from behind the camera, is humility. And he's like, what? And I was like, seriously, you know, you don't want to see you get frustrated and see the bad side of you on the first date. And he's like, yeah, but then I'll see that in her. And I was like, yeah, but she'll see that in you. And he was like, oh. And then he just played it humility all the way through, and it was all about her enjoyment of the game. And then at the end, they actually had a really lovely date, and I was just like, my work here is done.
Yeah, because that's the thing as well. She'll see how clever I am, and I'm like, but what if you're not clever?
What if you're not?
That would be my goal. Like, I can think that, but then and then like 3 minutes later, I'd be like, but I might not be clever.
And you can't get angry about not being clever, because then you look like a dick.
Yeah.
You know? And you don't know if it's going to be the puzzle you can't solve. Puzzles are not built for solving.
Yeah.
They're kind of,
I wouldn't go to an escape room in the best of times, because I'm worried about getting stuck in it forever.
Well, that's how I got my job. I lost and I got stuck there for 2 years.
King of the escape room.
It's a weird option. I did see one guy who was in there, and I don't know if this was a first date or not. And I really hope, I kind of hope it was, because then she saw him and never saw him again, hopefully. But he didn't get past the first puzzle. He had it's an hour. He had 15 minutes, and I was giving him clues and clues and clues. And 15 minutes before the hour was up, he stormed out. And there's a bit of a lag in the cameras, so I could hear him leave before I saw him leave. And I went down the stairs to say, is everything okay? And he was like, it's too difficult!
That's worse, man. That's worse.
And then he kept going, and I was like, thank God, because I don't know what the comeback is to that, you know? And then she comes out, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, I'm so sorry. And we're both there going, I'm so sorry. And then she's like, bye. And I'm like,
we're both really sorry for this huge baby man.
This fucking man-child that you have.
It's too difficult! That does sound like something I would maybe say, actually. This is too difficult.
I suspect he might have taken a little bit of fucking coke. And I think, because he was
that coke in his escape room. That's a fucking nightmare.
People turn up drunk, and I'm like, why? Why do you turn up drunk to a fucking escape room?
Serious anxiety attack if I was drunk in an escape room. Every room's an escape room when I'm drunk.
Fucking house is an escape room. Oh no, I don't understand. The arrogance of some people is just sort of mind-boggling. I think it's a lack of connection to reality. There's something really empowering in knowing your limits.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot, because like work in a restaurant during the day, and like the sort of lack of connection to reality is very obvious sometimes in that. People think they're starving. Yeah, you're like, no, dude, I don't think you ever know what starving is. You've never been. Alright, like this is.
Yeah, you've got 3 days before it's a problem.
It's like, you've literally been in here for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Calm yourself, man. Calm yourself.
I used to work in a cafe, and lunchtimes were horrible because they had a limited amount of time, and it would stress them out, and then that stress would come straight at the staff. It's not fun. I don't have the patience for that. I always admire people who are able to cope with that kind of situation.
I'm not sure. Sometimes she breaks free. Like It's always in the back of my head if everything's really stressful. I just like overplay what I think I would like to do if I ever really lose it.
Yeah, you go postal.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go postal. And I'm like, I think I'll just like walk through the restaurant screaming, "Pigs! Pigs!" Throwing food at them. You pigs, pigs, pigs. Oh, not a minute. Pigs!
Hungry now, are you?
Eat that.
It's such a stressful job. I can't do. I'm not capable. One of the reasons I went for an ADHD diagnosis, waiting on the fucking waiting list for years, but that's the crack with all diagnoses these days, is because I'm physically and mentally not capable of holding down a job that I do not find interesting, which is insane because like I didn't realize that it wasn't normal to not be able to do it. Like I get to a certain point and then it becomes like just pure work, 100% work. All my energy, all my effort goes into being able to turn up, and then I hit breaking point and I just fucking snap. Like every single time. It's happened in cafes, it's happened in fucking chippers. Although to be fair, when I was working in the Four Lanterns, I was so off my head on pills all the time. They said I was the best damn burger maker they ever had. I was off my nuts on fucking yolks, flipping burgers and putting smiley faces in the sauce.
Do you know what? I went in once and I'd been up all night taking cocaine and drinking, and I did put in the best fucking shit anyone had ever seen. And like, I don't do that. I don't really do that. That was like the first time I'd ever done that and the last. But I was like, do you know what? I was like,
yeah, I left before I snapped on that one. And they were just like, anytime you want a job, you know where to find us. And I was like, no. I'm not fucking doing that again. But it's, even like I was working in film and TV and I loved it. It's a great job because you're super busy all the time. There's a lot to do. So I've got all that novelty aspect of it. But I've just found the social side and the politics was nearly fucking impossible to manage.
yeah.
Because I don't understand, and I find this in the comedy scene as well, I don't understand who's, in inverted commas, important. I don't know who's important. And I'm supposed to know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Okay, but that's not just me then.
But I can understand what you mean by that, because I find it hard sometimes to understand why people care about certain things.
Yes, I don't understand that either. I would treat everyone the same.
Yeah, and then they're like, so when people sort of go, oh, you can't say that, I'm like, but the stakes are so low here. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I find it hard
stuff would they say you can't say that to?
I mean, like, the sort of I mean, like, I think there's a thing with, if you sort of, particularly with men, if you would criticize something that you would find to be sexist or maybe homophobic or
so
something.
They just don't like criticism in general.
But like, just from your perspective, not saying the person is these things at all. Just saying, oh, I think that maybe like, they've not really thought that through. It sounds a wee bit sexist to me. Yeah. There tend to be a thing of like, oh, they're not like that, and I'm like, but I'm not saying that they are. I'm
confusing the idea with the person.
I'm saying I personally find that opinion to be that.
Yeah. That's how I took it. That's how it sounded to me.
I don't hold that opinion of them as an individual.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people will be quick to go like, oh, you're saying bad things about them. And I'm like, no, I'm saying I just thought that joke was a bit shit.
I do find it very supportive, like, just in general, that people are always like, hey, good set. Even when I haven't had a good set. I kind of would like to know.
We do mean it. Sometimes we are like, good set, but what we are saying is, you fucking did it.
You did it. Well done. You got up. You fucking did something.
Because there's been times that I've gone, fuck no. I'm like, I'm away. See you later. I'm like, why am I here?
That did not go as planned. Yeah. No, yeah, that's sort of interesting. I think constructive criticism is really, really useful. And I love constructive criticism. I love it when someone says to me, I really liked this about your act. I didn't quite understand this and I'm not sure what was going on there. And then I can go, okay, so you as an audience member understood this and these are the bits you didn't get. I can either throw those out or work on them.
Yeah.
You know? And that's useful information to me.
Yeah.
But I do know people are sensitive as well, so it's very hard coming from street performance to comedy and watching people be sensitive. I was like, oh, I forgot that people are sensitive, because in street performance you do not have the fucking luxury of sensitivity.
Yeah.
You
I
just
do
don't
think
have
as
it.
well. I find it strange sometimes with the stand up how sensitive people can be occasionally. I find that it's strange because it feels like a very vulnerable position to put yourself in.
Yeah, you'd want a thick skin to get up there.
Yeah,
You know?
and I do find and I'm not, I'm saying this for myself as well, to be honest, that I think we are actually some of the most sensitive people, because it's very vulnerable and very, what's the word for it, because it's so personal.
Yeah.
A lot of stand-up is based on a very personal experience or a very personal opinion.
Yeah, there are people up there laughing at their own trauma.
Yeah, and I think like sometimes then that can backfire.
Yeah. Because your trauma's not funny.
And that is what I get. Like, people like, oh, it's just sad you didn't speak to somebody. I'm like, I thought it was funny, fuck off.
My left tit begs otherwise.
Well, you don't have any sense of humour, that's what's wrong with you. You got no life experience. It's like, get on like that. It's happened several times and people just be like...
Well, I know I've unintentionally offended people and I'm not entirely sure what I've said. But it might have also been my tone. It might have also been my facial expressions, because I do not match outwardly what is going on inwardly. So like if I say something that I think is all pleasant and lovely and funny and just happy and nice, they might take it as me being an absolutely sarcastic cunt. And I'm like, no intention there was meant whatsoever. So there's definitely a few people I have upset on some level. Or it's possible they just don't like me, and that's fine. But I have found myself, someone tried to book me for a night and said, oh, so-and-so are coming. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's two of them. Oh, I can't do that night. I'm already booked.
I only have energy for one.
yeah, I could deal with one of those people. And it would have been in the car for 2 hours, or however many hours. It was an hour and a half or 2 hours to get there. And I was like, I just don't have the energy for that shit right now. Like,
that is a fair enough.
Yeah.
Like,
if it was in town where I
worse.
turn up and then fuck off, I
Yeah.
can deal with as many people who don't like me as, because, you know, I can get home by myself. I don't need your help.
I can go.
But yeah, I'm such a sort of straightforward and honest person. Like, if you ask me anything, I struggle to lie. Even about stuff that I probably should lie about, do you know? If someone was like, oh, what do you think of this dress? And I know they love the dress, but the dress does not flatter them, I would struggle to I would pause for long enough to find the right thing to say that they would know I'm lying.
I feel like I would do the same thing, actually. I feel like, because I'm sort of like, in some ways, kind of like it's very obvious on my face very quickly.
I like the colour.
If someone was to do that to me, I'd be like,
yeah.
I like.
Yeah,
Nice.
lovely.
I was like, people are just like, you can see it on your face instantly. Like, you're like.
So yeah, but the benefit of that is people will only come to you when they want an honest answer. You know?
Yeah.
I would prefer that.
I do think what you were saying about not always knowing to say the right thing. I appreciate that more in people, I think.
Yeah.
Than people always saying the right thing, because there's a sort of
the amount of times I've had
dishonesty
people
in that.
yes like the amount of times I've had people just go, you cannot say that, and I'm like, what did I say? I think disagreeing with people is the big one. It's like, you're not supposed to disagree with people. That's impolite.
Well, I generally struggle with that, because it doesn't make sense to me.
No, if it's not how you feel.
Can just disagree with people and it just be that.
And
it doesn't have to be any more than that.
It's not a comment on them.
No,
it's a comment on that opinion.
Yeah, and like, also, just because you don't agree with one thing of it doesn't mean you are not friends. You just don't care about each other. You just don't agree with each other on this one aspect. I mean, Catholics marry Protestants these days.
Oh, those interracial marriages.
I'm sure we can have
Have
one
a little
argument
mixed babies.
and get it together again afterwards. We'll be alright.
Yeah, I do. I like with the community, the street performance community. You get so many different people from so many different backgrounds. There's a lot of Australians. There's a lot of Canadians, Americans, and like most of the Canadians and Americans are going to be very Christian because that is the countries they come from. And I take the piss out of them for that. And they take it on the chin, and they take the piss out of me for, well, in Quinn's case, he kept taking the piss out of me for being an older woman. And I was like, well, yes, he would say old. I was like, I was 35 at the time, fuck you. Yeah, so I mean, there's always something. And like, if he could find when he hit my insecurities, I'd just hit his back, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's bonding, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also boundaries. It's letting them know, because he knows that it's an intentional thing when I start throwing bread rolls at him.
Yeah. I am most sort of uncomfortable and most unnerved with people when I perceive them to be sensitive.
Yeah, because then you don't know what to... You're kind of walking on eggshells, aren't you?
Yeah,
like,
or easily offended, and it's like it's not that I don't want to offend you, and I sometimes can be very sarcastic and like, do you know what I mean? Or like, what's the term for it? I suppose it's like a Northern Irish people's culture would are very like, yeah. What's it? Raking your bacon. Raking your bacon. So if you do something stupid, even if it is dropping your fork, it's getting commented on.
Yeah.
So I think we're sort of like culturally a wee bit like that as well. So sometimes
I do find there's a weird like dichotomy in Northern Irish culture, because there is that piss taking aspect of Northern Irish culture that I love, but then there is the time when I cracked myself in the face with a winch. It actually says wench on my hospital report, which is hilarious. I cracked myself, and I had a black eye for 3 fucking days before I did a stand-up gig. Nobody said a thing. And it was the weirdest thing, walking around town and everyone just going up, right? Oh. Nobody said anything.
Presumptions were made.
Yeah. Do you know what had happened in the South? Your boyfriend bitch you, did he?
There's a good chance up here he did, so nobody's anything. There's a good chance up here and beat them too.
That's probably... I was it Brona Diamond said to me, because I mentioned it. I got up on stage to do a set in Best of 3, and that's the first thing I mentioned, and then everyone erupted laughing, because it was such an obvious fucking thing. And I was just so confused as to why no one was saying anything. And then Brona was like, yeah, but you might have got it for being a tout.
That's true, it's always beaten.
No, nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to know why
that's
that's
worried
there.
about beddings.
Yeah. There is a sort of reservedness to, a sort of minding your own business to the Northern Irish culture, I think. Which
I
makes
think we're
sense.
strange people, because in many ways we've got that quite Irish openness.
Yeah.
And then there's also that very like Presbyterianness to us as well, that very reserved, very quiet,
Protestant
traditional
work ethic and
side too.
Yeah.
We don't make sense. The country doesn't make sense. Get rid of it.
Yeah. The other night you saw that where I tried to talk about dating for the first time.
Oh, that was great. I love
you
that
like
thing.
that?
That was great.
It was
I think you suffered a wee bit from the previous act having changed the tempo of the room slightly.
There was a bit of and I was doing new stuff, so I wasn't able to bring them back, I suppose. Yeah. It was definitely not my usual response, because the first few lines, not so much jokes, but the first few lines were tried and tested, and they were usually quite okay. And then I got super nervous.
I feel like that they sort of scared them a wee bit.
Yeah. It's like, is she gonna say something fucking shite?
I think by the end they were like, oh no, we're alright, we're back on form.
I think I'm tonight, I was gonna say on Thursday, that's tonight. Tonight I'm in the Chicken Box, so I'm gonna try it again.
Chicken Box is a great room.
Yeah.
I love Chicken Box.
Yeah. It's a really open place. I don't think there's anything I could say there that wouldn't be received well. And I don't think Rory would ever not book someone because of their opinion.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know other places as well to say the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I feel like Chicken Box is a very, because it's open mic.
Yeah.
Again, so it's a nice to have a space where you can try stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's strange. There's a lot of clubs on the scene, but there's not that many open mic.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pav's very hard to get into because it's so busy.
Yeah.
It's got so many people who's trying to get gigs.
Poor Luke. I don't know how he does it. I don't know.
I don't actually know either. I'm like, and then sometimes he leaves there and goes to work, and I'm like, oh my god.
In which he supports people's mental health issues. He's just such a nice guy.
Send him. But yeah, Madden's. Madden's as well.
I haven't gone to Madden's yet, just because I kept forgetting it was Tuesday.
And it's like you have to get down.
Yeah.
Early.
At what is it, 5:15 now? You need.
I think it's 6:30. Half six. And then you're there for like an hour. We were in the hallway for like an hour, or not an hour. We were outside for a bit, and then we were in the hallway for about 25 minutes.
In the hallway, so they don't bring you. You're not in the room with the.
You have to queue up on the stairs.
Oh.
And I got the last spot, but I gave it to Nathan Carruthers.
Aww, I like Nathan. I like his stuff.
Because he was there before me, and I felt too guilty. And also, I didn't want to stay to the end.
Yeah. How did you end up ahead of the queue in the queue?
Because everyone sort of like was waiting outside, and then Ross Mitchell started the run to the stair. Animals, all of them. Like, you clearly know who you were there before and who you weren't. Ronan Diamond as well, running all the time, piling in over each other. I was like, you're animals, you should be ashamed of yourself.
She says, coming up close behind them.
I was like waiting, and I was like, right, no, I think I was probably the last person there. I was like, go in front of me, and everyone was like, don't worry, just go up the stairs, it's fun now. And I was like...
So you started the politeness, and the politeness followed. Yeah.
No, Luke was behind me, and Luke was definitely there before me.
Yeah.
I was like, this is terrible. You all know each other as well. You all know each other, and you're not strangers.
I don't know, could you do that to strangers? That'd be fucking grim if you saw straight, you didn't know them, and you started running to get ahead.
Running up the stairs. And then you had to stand there, because they don't let you in. You have to wait in the queue, and I was like, this is a disgrace.
I don't know how I feel about that, because I kind of assumed it was you put your name down, and if your name's on the paper, then you get called up in the coordinates.
And I thought they should just put a piece of paper out and like write on it. But then after seeing that debacle,
yeah,
I understand why.
Somebody gets stabbed in the eye with a pencil.
It's like you then, so there's the first, I think it's 13 people.
Right.
Sign up, but they can pick where they go.
Yes, okay, that sounds like a draw, a street performance draw.
Yeah, so they can sort of say, like, if you're the first one, you get to pick your spot.
Yeah.
As opposed to just the first 13 names.
Yes. Oh, I like that. That's nice.
I would have done it if was able to stay that long, but I wasn't, so I'll give it 10 days.
Yeah. I heard it's a good evening though.
It was a really good evening. I really enjoyed it. It was like good, just staying for the show. Like, it was good.
Yeah. I'll have to have Nathan on the podcast as well. He's good crack to talk to. And he's got a show coming up on the 1st of September, I believe.
Yes. In the
Strand.
Something. Yes.
I looked this up because I was like, oh, I'd like to go to his show, and then I looked it up and went, that's really fucking far away. I'm probably not going.
I got tickets to it. I'm gonna go. Do you know, he's a newish comedian, but I have full faith that it's gonna be a great show.
Yeah, he's got such personality.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's such an interesting.
Yeah. I always have
style of humour.
Yeah. I also have interesting conversations with him whenever I chat to him, and I enjoy that about people.
Yeah, I was glad to be on the stairs next to him.
Yeah.
We got a bit crack on the stairs. Because we were saying, like, could you imagine it was another type of people that were queuing up on the stairs, not comedians?
Like, no crack.
They would be like a bunch of bankers on these stairs for 25 minutes. I was like, oh god, no. Thankfully we're...
all flashing their watches and...
Thankfully we got a bit of, we got a couple of sets on the stairs, so I don't think anyone was a few people weren't that upset they didn't get the show.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would love to try that out, and I should. There was one Tuesday I remembered that it was Tuesday and that it was on at that time, and I was getting ready to go, and then it turned out the bus didn't leave after 6, so I was like, yeah, you have to walk across the other side to get the other buses. There's only one that goes by on that side.
Not after
It's
6?
Not after 6. The 2J is like not after 6 or half at 6 or something. Like, yeah.
See, where I live is quite good because I live right where all the twos split off.
Oh, you can get any one of them.
So I get all the
twos. You get all the ones on that side, but only 1, 2 on that side. Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah. It's a bitch. Like to be fair, it's a 10-minute walk to go to get the ones. But like, it was one of those days where it's like, oh, I've just cleaned out the fucking pet's cage and I just want to sit down.
That was kind of like the first time I'd been, because sort of the way I work, generally my sort of like weekend or my 2 days off are sort of midweek.
Yeah.
So, and I work like the whole weekend. So by like Tuesday, I'm usually like, oh fuck. So I get home and then get changed, and then I go, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck, I'm not going down there.
Like, I keep forgetting what day it is on the day that I'm like, so Tuesdays and Wednesdays I need to remember because the writers group is on Wednesdays and Tuesdays is is Madden's. And what'll happen is like I'll go, oh, writers group, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, or Madden's, I'm really looking forward to that, and then on the day completely fucking blank till 10 o'clock at night, and then go, oh fuck. It's today.
I keep meaning to go to the writers group as well, and I work around there, so I keep meaning to go after work sometime. Yeah. But then I just go autopilot home.
Yeah. I tell you what though, the fucking privilege of Northern Ireland people, because they don't realise they sent me down a street with this fucking accent.
Oh yeah, that's an area.
I was walking down the street going, Jesus, there's a lot of fucking Union Jacks around here, lads. And bloody hands and all sorts of other symbolism. And I had to stop a woman and ask her where the community centre was. She was lovely. She had a dog. I thought that was either going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And she helped me out. But yeah, in those areas, for the most part, I think people are generally very friendly. But I think you just could very easily meet the wrong person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I work around there and they are like very, very friendly. But at the same time, you'd be like,
fucking takes.
There's one conversation I can have with you. Okay, so like over the 12th where I work is just like mayhem. Mayhem. And even like a lot of people in the area don't really hang around for it because it seems to be more like a youth rave.
Right. Yeah, the hate rave. 2023.
Like when I was like after we closed and I walked through the street, and I'd just be like, who are these teenagers? Like with carry-outs and bucket hats. So like, what is this? This is not the 12th.
I remember getting on a bus and I'd forgotten it was Paddy's Day. Again, I'm really bad at knowing what day it is. And I got on the bus and the bus driver was like, you're not going to be able to go into town. We're going to have to take a detour. And I was like, why? And he goes, the march. And I was like, fuck me, it's not. Wait, hang on. No, it's not. What march? And he goes, the Patrick's March. And I was like, that's not a fucking march.
Describe that as a march.
There's no marching. There's meandering and preambling, but there's no fucking marching.
It's not a march.
It's a drunken stumble, you fucking... So I've never heard it called a march before in my life, and I was like, right, that's weird. But yeah, they'd see that as our Orange Day, really, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, there's an internment bonfires, isn't there? I've never been to one of those.
Oh, I've not. Is that where they put the Union Jacks on the bonfire and burn them?
I don't know. I just knew I'd seen a bonfire and where it was. Yeah. I was like, what's that? And someone was like, oh, it's the internment bonfires. And I was like, oh,
right.
Well done, lad. You got your own wee thing. Perfect.
Burning stuff as well. Well
burning
done,
stuff. Fuck the atmosphere.
How's that going to work with net zero, I wonder?
The damage this country does to the fucking...
That's why we have an ozone hole over the fucking island.
We deserve it. Like, that is what I think, because I don't think about these things like from a sectarian. I just see it, I just go, the fucking atmosphere, man.
That's a lot of fucking pallet slabs.
The planet! The planet! like, oh my god, like someone should tally that. The amount of damage it does every year. Plastic tires.
Yeah, tires, tons of tires.
Oh my god.
But it seems that young people, apart from like a very fervent group in certain areas, most young people don't even know that there's a thing anymore. Oh, that's not a thing anymore.
People
like,
don't really do them. Yeah, I think it's more like, and I was sort of speaking to someone recently because I didn't remember the 12th being like that sort of yo, everyone go out in the streets and get drunk and plastered and like
break stuff.
What sort of was sort of where I was working, and I was like, and someone was like, oh yeah, but you're not from the city. That's a city 12th. And I was like, oh right, because like what I remember the 12th when I was a kid, they just like, there was a bit of a march and then people had a barbecue.
Yeah. You go out, you watch the drums and the flutes, and you go home and have a bit of a barbecue.
Your ma's mate had a barbecue.
Yeah,
like
nice.
That was about it.
Yeah.
Didn't even really register that it was what it was about, type thing, especially when you were younger. But I didn't remember there being
just
mayhem.
parade, like,
mayhem and
carnage. Well, in the south, in Sligo, I don't know where other places, but like particularly Donegal and Sligo would get it, and probably like Monaghan and places like that. We always called it orange season because like tons of northerners would just be in our counties for that time. They just go on holiday and go, not fucking dealing with it.
Well, I think for a long time my mum would have taken us to Oxygen or Witness, which I believe was over that weekend.
Was that the same weekend? Right.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I went to Witness. Jesus, that was some years ago now.
Yeah, like for when I was sort of like 14 onward, we would have went down there. So our friends were like caterers and stuff like that worked in festivals, so we skedaddled.
Yeah. You're probably better off. Like, I mean, if Paddy's Day was that violent, I think most of the country would probably fucking leave as well and go to England. Like, fucking Paddy's Day again, lads.
Paddy's Day's ruining for everybody.
Oh, fuck's sake. It's a small number. It's a minority.
It's a minority. It's green men. I think we do have quite a small St. Patrick's Day here. I don't really remember St. Patrick's Day much growing up. I remember the first few times I remember really celebrating St. Patrick's Day, that real very like out in town. I was when I was in uni in Liverpool.
Oh yeah, Liverpool has a big Irish population.
Big St. Patrick's Day, whereas I don't think they do that much here.
Yeah, Dublin is huge.
Yeah.
The rest of the country, every small town has Patrick's Day, and like I, as a circus artist, I would have been hired to perform at a lot of these different. The weirdest one, where the fuck was it? It was Kells. And I was hired doing like little mini street shows in between, and then some sort of circus stuff and a fire show and things like that. And then I watched the parade, and I don't know to this day what the fuck it is. I need to find out. So if there's anyone listening from Kells who knows what this is about, please tell me. So you have all of the local businesses that come down advertising there, and then you have like the local youth centres that are all dressed up and looking lovely. And then you had some guy with a turnip on a stick. And
Excuse me, I didn't mean to joke.
It had a t-shirt on it.
What?
It was like a cross with a t-shirt on it, and the turnip was the head. And I was just like, but there was a bunch of people around it as well, and I was like, that means something. What the fuck? So turnip head, I've never seen anything. Do you think it's like a Wicker Man type thing?
I know someone from Kells.
They're very angry with Dublin for stealing their book.
That reminds me of that you're just like seeing something and being like, what is going on? There used to be like a country and western festival in Grimsport, which is just next to like Bangor, down the sort of peninsula. And it would be like, we weren't into country and western at all. My friends were a bunch of goths, but we were like outside drinking. So you could go, you were allowed to drink on the outside then. So we used to go a lot as a teenager. And one thing I always remembered about it was there was like, the country and western singers, and some of the bands were incredible.
It's huge around the country in Ireland as well, like, yeah.
And everyone would be done up, like, cowboy boots and cowboy hats and all.
I've got images of like Irish farmers with the cowboy boots.
Oh, they love it. They love it. Tell you, that's their big day.
Oh.
That's their big day. They get all their pieces out.
Well, enjoy it.
But for some reason, and I don't know why, I don't know why I never thought to ask as a teenager, but it just dawned, I remembered it fairly recently, and I was like, what the hell? One guy dressed as a Native American. And every year, and I was just like, as a teenager, I just sort of like went, ugh. And now, and like as an adult, someone was talking about things you used to see as a teenager, and it just popped into my head, and I was like, what was that?
I wonder, was like everyone else was like, Jim, we've asked you 100 times.
Why? The full headdress and all.
Did he like shoot them with like?
It looked, from what I remember, it looked like he had like, it was a very put together costume with some big like headdress and stuff. But it just, it's only in hindsight that when you really think about it, you're like, that's really odd.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, either he wanted to be different, or he was making a statement, or maybe this was some kind of fetish for him. This was his only opportunity.
This was his only opportunity, and at least he got an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, country and western is huge. Like, they do a line dance and
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And those guys who do the singing make tons of money.
Oh yeah, and I just sort of like, there is, this sounds really weird, but like, that world is like a whole different world from the world I inhabit. Like
in your little goth costume.
Yeah. Because I was watching what is it like called, Keeping Her Country or something like that. One of these TV programs on TV. Just happened to be sitting watching it one day, and like, it is like a whole different society.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know there was so much going on.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It has its own culture,
like that.
Yeah.
Those people,
and it's completely different to like bluegrass country.
Yeah,
or
that
like
their lives revolve around this type of music, and it's a strange type of music to have taken. That's such an American influence.
It's very American. Yeah.
To these people.
Yeah.
For mana.
Yeah.
I was just like, how did you get into this so much? Like,
talking about your pickup truck and
it's really weird. There's a guy he's going for a jive. He's going down for a jive. Courting.
Courting.
He had a car full of shirts.
To people. So only you decide which shirt based on like.
Biggest shirt.
Oh Jesus, that's not a bad idea.
Got a bit too much sweating, they get another shirt. I was like, it's wild, like, but all having a good time, you know, no drink as well.
Yeah.
Not drinking.
Yeah.
Don't drink.
Yeah.
Just go for
It's nice to have stuff that involves not drinking. We don't have enough of it. I think things are changing now where, like, there are places to go where you can have a conversation with someone that doesn't involve getting absolutely fucking smashed.
There was a woman came into work, I can't remember where they were from, but they were asking, do you know what to do in the city? And I was like,
that's too broad a question for me. Like,
but she also said not museums. But she also said the Titanic Museum is now £42, which is
Jesus.
I was like, what?
You're not going to see fucking dead boat bits for £42.
That is ridiculous. And like
it's because Americans will fucking spend the money.
That is the stupidest thing I ever. She was not American, and like. So yeah, if you're not interested to go.
Do you have a dead zoo here?
Stuff. There's a zoo, yeah.
But is there a dead zoo, like the Natural History Museum? That's what we call it in Dublin. We call it the dead zoo.
There's aspects of natural history things in the museum, but I don't think it's particularly big. But
is that the Ulster Museum?
Yeah.
I want to go there. I haven't been there yet. I do love the museum.
Takabuti.
Takabuti? What is that?
Takabuti, it's the mummy.
They have a mummy?
It's got a mummy. Yeah,
where's the mummy from?
Egypt.
Somewhere fucking old.
From Egypt. Let me tell you, I do know something about Takabuti. Because I wrote a joke about this.
That's a fucking great stage name.
Takabuti. Listen, because I don't know, it's just like a childhood memory, Takabuti. Just from like going to the museum.
I used to whisper my secrets to Takabuti.
Oh my god, it's a mummy, that's crazy. But I did write a joke about it, and it was one of those ones where people were like, what? Because I was like, this is like, Northern Irish news as well is incredible, because most of the time it's either mayhem or nothing is going on. Or like I seen the news once and it was like an old woman got her dream to drive a bus.
97-year-old woman gets bus license.
But there was a segment on the news one night from the Takabuti Society. They love her. The Takabuti Society, right? And
they're actually thousands of years old, and they have been tasked with minding the body of Takabuti so she doesn't raise again.
They have discovered something due to scans and stuff. I can't remember the technical
Here comes the science bit.
Scans. They had discovered that Takabuti was in fact murdered.
And then wrapped up. Fucking hell.
And I was
that is so dramatic.
Just in hysterics. I was like, why is there a segment on the news about
this is the oldest cold case Northern Ireland has ever fucking known.
Mummy being murdered. Yes, apparently she was stabbed in the back.
In the back. In the back. Poor Takabuti.
Takabuti, and then I wrote this thing about how I can't remember what the joke was, but it was me like in shock about the murder of Takabuti. And there was just like an audience.
People
like,
did not get it.
Why are you talking? Who is Takabuti?
You know, the joke would have worked if you just introduced Takabuti.
That's a
I think you should make like the beginning of your act all about Takabuti, and then like do the callback to the poor murder, and then people will be shocked and appalled.
She was murdered. I can't remember it.
Stabbed in the back.
Stabbed in the back.
So this is the sort of shit I love hearing about, because I now am gonna go look at Takabuti and find out everything I need to know about her. Like, why is she here?
I think I remember it actually being, because it was like, oh, she was murdered, she was stabbed in the back, and because they said, oh, and that's hard to believe because she looks so peaceful and serene. And I was like, does she? She's like, but she definitely looks like she's been stabbed in the back
and dehydrated. Like, nobody looks peaceful and serene after they've been fucking mummified.
Society was talking about her. I was like, this man is way too into
There was
this
that society in England that turned out to be correct about Richard III.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
it was
like he fucking was in the car park. It was like that woman's a mad bitch, and then it turns out no, he was in the car park. Like, yeah, that's fucking crazy. Wonder did he know about Takabuti?
They probably knew about Takabuti.
He probably stabbed her in the back, the fucking prick.
I hope it is Takabuti. That's definitely right. It's Takabuti. It's not a name you forget.
It's a name I'd forget.
Takabuti.
Takabuti.
I can't remember actually like where she's.
It's like Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan.
Takabuti.
It's a great name.
It is. That should be the name of your one-woman show.
Justice for Takabuti.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like,
we're gonna find that bastard killer. Oh, she looks so serene. What the fuck?
I know, and she genuinely does.
Even if you did get like stabbed in the back, you'd still be like, ah. You wouldn't be like, ooh, I didn't see it coming. I'm so calm.
It's just like I was way too into that mummy. And like, I could just tell there was something weird going on.
Oh, Takabuti. Yeah. So you didn't pursue that as a comedy bit then?
I felt like I was clutching at straws earlier. It was just like, it had something to do with just Northern Irish news more than Takabuti, but like I hadn't.
What I thought was hilarious, I do get the occasional Northern Irish news on my page, and like the comments are just fucking brilliant. Like, it's always like, you know, yeah, well, fuck the fucking Catholics anyway, and then someone else go, yeah, well, you fucking invaded our fucking country, and it's just that for like 70 fucking messages.
Nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it whatsoever. Haha, it's hilarious, another one dead, fuck you. So, you know, you're like, Jesus, that is so dark. So dark. And then there's always some fucking southerner pops on as well, like, you know, give us back our 6 counties. Like,
I find the commenting on news stories on like Facebooks and other things really strange. Like I really.
Who are you talking to? Like?
Like I can like look at it and I have a thought, but I don't write it down.
Like, you gotta share all your thoughts with everyone all the time.
I'm like,
that is how the world works now.
But sometimes I lurk. I do lurk.
Yeah.
Where I'm like reading and going.
Sometimes I do get like an overwhelming urge to reply to an idiot, and then I start typing and go, no,
it's not worth
don't
starting
do it.
And then
because they'll reply to you.
I was like, over lockdown, I commented on a few things because I was like, I can't let it lie.
Yeah.
I mean, the Captain Tom stuff was just.
What was the Captain Tom stuff?
Do you know that old man that walked up and down his garden?
No. It's a well-known thing in Northern Ireland.
He was.
I presume his name was Captain Tom.
He was Captain Tom. He was a
captain of his own garden.
He was a captain in the army.
Oh right, okay. So he
was like 99 or some shit. He was old. He was old. And he walked up and down on a stroller to raise money for the NHS over lockdown.
Oh, okay. So it's not just like, I thought it was like some madman that just refused to go inside during lockdown.
Like, that is a wee bit.
I'm raising money. Fuck yous.
Family, well now I think they have taken the money and bought a spa.
No.
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious. Is he still at... Oh,
no, he died.
I saw something about this recently and I didn't know the backstory. And then there was a bunch of people giving out about a spa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what that was about. Oh, and the shame was that's where the money went to. And I was like, where did this fucking money come from? Like, what? Yeah.
It was him walking, people donating, I think it was like millions at the end.
Wow.
To walk up and turn his garden. But he died, and it was the way people were writing about it was just, it was all too much for me. Like, it was like, I've been crying all day, and I was like, why?
Yeah. Did you meet Captain Tom?
You didn't know him, and also he was really fucking old. Yeah. Like, he's
when
fine.
old people die, it is different, because you are expecting it. Especially if he's like 99 or whatever. I'm not saying it's not sad.
No, it's not sad, but it's not
unexpected.
A tragedy.
Yeah. It's not like he had his whole life ahead of him.
There was a few people that wrote tragedy. Yeah. And I was like, this is not a tragedy. I can't.
Gone too soon. At 99 years of age. Well, they said that about... Who was it who died recently? Really old? Betty White. She was like 100 or something. Everyone's gone too soon.
She actually died finally.
Yeah. Too soon.
I just feel like everyone says that every year.
Yeah, no, I hope it's Betty White now, or I've just gone and fucking announced her dead.
I feel like it was time.
Yeah. No, there are some people, like, you have a limited lifespan.
Yeah, it's not sad. That's the thing where I'm saying, like, sometimes I don't quite understand why people are angry about things or upset. Because I'm like, well, number one, you're not related to them. Number two, old as fuck.
Yeah.
And number three, clearly tax evader.
Yeah. What kind of children did he raise?
Astute ones. Yeah, I remember seeing them like on the TV, always talking. It just like before, it was just a distinct period of time where I was like, I cannot watch TV because I cannot see any more of this fucking
Captain Tom.
We're amazing. Look at us.
See, I don't have TV. I only ever watch stuff on the internet. Like.
Well, I don't have it anymore. Actually, I got rid of it.
Yeah, I haven't had a TV since like fucking year 2000 or something. Like 23 years now. And I'm glad I don't. And I've sat in friends' houses and watched TV, and like the technology is too advanced for me now. I can't make the control work, and also there's too much detail in the picture.
You flip the way I've sat and watched.
I have attempted. And there's weird programs on now.
And
You can watch people professionally pop fucking zits. That's a TV show.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I do
is
know what
going
you
on?
mean about there being too much
It's hyper real.
detail.
Yeah.
Like, I don't quite like that either. Like,
Yeah.
there's like some things I'm like, I don't need to say it like this. Like,
Yeah.
it's too. If it feels assaulting.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like, it's like my brain starts to hurt after a while. And we were watching. It was an animal program, like a wildlife program. So it's something I was actually enjoying watching, and not zit popping. That my uncle was watching that. We were in the house, and I was just like, "Oh, I can't look away. It's fucking horrible. What?" Oh.
That is like sort of a wee bit of an issue when it comes to like the stand-up comedy, you know, appealing to everybody or like certain audiences that I don't. Not very good with pop culture in a general way.
No, I'm terrible with
Like
pop culture.
all that sort of like.
You're better with Takabuti.
I mean, I
and-
was right. Yeah, Takabuti is what I knew about because they haven't gone to museums.
Yeah, fucking uneducated Philistines.
So I was writing some sketches for something, and you know, they were like sort of going, yeah, that's good enough, but you want to do something more about something more like, you know, relevant, say like what do you call that one where they all date each other?
Oh, it's like Love Island.
Love Island.
Yeah. I'm aware of these things.
I'm
but
like
I've never
aware, and
watched
I was
them.
like, oh, but I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to make things relatable to those things. And
No, yeah. No, but I don't think you have to either, because any of the best comedy that I've always loved has always been, like Monster, Dylan Moran, and like Billy Connolly.
yeah.
Like, it's not, if you make it relevant to now, it's only relevant to now.
Yeah, and I like, it's just, I feel like it's so
Although the whole Lizzo
depressing.
thing is fucking hilarious.
It's so depressing, like Love Island and stuff like that, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can't, a lot of those things I find that you can't satirize them,
Yeah.
because
They're already there.
it's already
Yeah.
stupid, and
Yeah.
it's a joke of itself, like, you
Yeah.
get, like, how can I make this seem less
Weird.
weird, like, it's just weird, like, it's weird.
And there's shows now, I haven't seen this, where they'd strip people naked and dump them in the jungle. Is that...
Whoa!
Yeah! And I think it's a dating show as well, but they're all naked. And it's a survival show. I'm not 100% sure.
We're really
whether it's
clutching
like,
at straws, like, for
oh,
entertainment here.
it's
like,
fucking
wild.
ridiculous.
Do you know what
Also,
they're going to have
there's a
next?
lot of
They're gonna have-
psychological torture involved.
Yeah, they're going to have a guy try and find a 50-foot woman to eat him.
90-Day Fiance. Maximalist.
Oh my god.
I do watch clips of that because I find that interesting, because 90-Day Fiance has like two very different cultures trying to get on. You'd have, like, it's usually Americans and some other culture.
Yeah.
So you have like American with a South American, or you have an American with like an Egyptian, or an American with... It's never a European. Like it's yeah. It's... Well, not that... I think maybe that they just find it's not conflict inducing enough. Like, they get on too well. But yeah, so I watched clips of that, and then, you know, there's this woman who was going out with an Egyptian guy, and he's from Cairo, and he's from the part of Cairo that was quite conservative. So there's like two cultures in Cairo. One is a lot more Western and modern, and then there's the more traditional conservative, and he's from there, and she is clearly a modern American woman. She has her lip fillers, she's had a little bit of nip tuck, she's a little bit insecure, and she's obviously looking for love, and he's saying you need to cover up more, and she's saying I need to have a certain amount of freedom, and that's the conflict throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting one, actually, though.
Yeah.
That's got like some sort of social...
And he doesn't want her doing yoga, telling a modern American woman she can't do yoga.
Well, there's no point in being alive, is there?
And he's saying, well, if I saw a woman doing that, I'd stare at her. And it's like, that's because you don't see women doing that. If you saw it all the time, you'd be fine with it. Don't worry. Like, so yeah, I find that sort of stuff interesting. Or a woman who goes to South America and he decides to open a meat business, like a butcher's,
but they don't have refrigeration. So they have to get the meat in and then they have to sell it that day. And it's out on the thing and there's kind of flies and stuff around. And it was very obvious that the program was focusing on these in an attempt to induce disgust. When really, like, from a health perspective, there's nothing wrong with it. As long as the meat is sold within a certain amount of time, you know. So it's just a cultural difference, but she was losing her shit over this. It's kind of understandably if you've never seen that before.
I feel like I have. I feel like in a lot of those, like, places, markets.
You find something weird where you're just like, this is not what I was expecting.
You would see that, like, just meat. I remember being in Dublin, actually, and just going into a restaurant, being like, oh, we'll just go here with my sister or something. And there was an Italian restaurant, one of those old school Italians, and there was just a table of meat.
That feels very Italian.
You're like, wow! That's all this meat hanging around. You're like, ooh,
lots of cheese and
raw meat just all sitting there. You're like, that's weird. It's weird.
It's whatever.
But I feel like they probably have that. Like, they probably just have the charcuterie table there.
Charcuterie. Yeah, it is. It's whatever you're sort of used to. But they didn't, like, I think those programs are a little bit racist. They do make an effort to make them look other. But it's conflict. Conflict is interesting, and as long as we find conflict interesting, we're going to continue to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why when we go back to the idea of people standing up and going, oh, my girlfriend's a bitch, or, you know, oh, haha, fat women. Do you know, I think they're trying to induce conflict because conflict is interesting.
Yeah.
But there's no defense of that conflict, so it's really not conflict.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, that's what it's sort of you.
If there was like somebody there fighting back, that's interesting.
Yeah, but when it was just him,
it
was just like, right, well,
fat women.
Okay, like it's a bit because I can see what people are trying to do.
Yeah. But is there any big comedians that you can think of that do that? I mean, like Jimmy Carr does it a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really like Jimmy Carr. I think he's great on 9 out of 10 Cats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's a great host.
I don't think
like his stand-up.
There's anything that you can't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's how you say it.
Yeah.
Or you understand, like, what you're saying, why you're saying it. Like, people don't just go, ha, or people that are fat funny. People don't find that funny anymore.
No.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So when people are sort of complaining about what people have said, it's generally not stuff like that. It's they've not said something in the best manner.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what were you trying to say? Where was the joke? Who was the subject?
What
Who
were
was
you
the object?
What were you talking about, really?
Yeah.
And I think the skill is knowing how to say something in the right manner.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Jimmy Carr does quite well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've only seen clips of his stand-up, so I suppose it's not fair of me to say I don't like his stand-up at all. But it just, every time I look at him, I see a fucking ventriloquist dummy.
He does have that aesthetic.
He's got to know that that's the fucking aesthetic he's gone for.
Any of them, I haven't seen him in a long time. Like, I was saying this conversation with someone recently because they were like, what was this thing you seen and like stand-up comedy you seen? And I was like, I don't know, I don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Because there is a sort of thing of, I mean, like, once someone's got me and sat me down to watch someone's show, I do enjoy it. But if I'm going, I want to chill out and watch something, it's not stand-up comedy anymore.
Well, I find before I do a gig, I tend to decompress from any comedy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sometimes I go through phases of watching a lot of clips on YouTube, or I'd watch a show or two. And then if I'm doing a show, I want to decompress because I don't want their words in my head accidentally coming out. I think part of that is because of the style I use, that I do tend to just talk and see what comes out. So I don't want somebody else's jokes inadvertently falling out of my mouth. But I also find you can very easily take on someone's style if you're watching them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without noticing, I think that's true. I think I can do that sometimes. So, like, and even just sort of the way someone speaks and not really notice it.
Yeah.
Because I think I see a lot of comedy now, a lot of stand-up comedy now, just gigging and seeing show and just a social group now, that
You see it from a very different angle when you're gigging though, because
Yeah.
you're seeing the work rather than the polished.
And a lot of the time now, it's like the last thing I want to see
It's
is
more
is
comedy.
more comedy. And it's hard then to switch that off when you're saying you're seeing the work, to just switch that off and just enjoy a performance
Yeah.
is quite difficult now.
I think when you learn about how things work as well, it changes how you see them. You're not gonna see the show anymore. You're gonna see how they did what they did, or which does change it. Like after working in TV, I don't watch shows in the same way anymore.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, I think what I used to do, I love Dylan Moran. Like, it was one of my favourite comedians. And then I
funny.
realised he never actually drank or smoked.
Right. Okay.
I was just watching his performance once.
It's
I
a
was just
theatre
watching him,
piece.
and then I was like, oh, he's never taken a drink or smoked that cigarette.
Yeah. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, but once you see it, you
I'm
never
gonna have to
unsee
watch
it.
some of his bits now. And he's very good though. His performance, but then like in Black Books, you can see he can actually act.
Yeah.
Black Books was one of the best shows I think I had ever seen. And it had Bill Bailey in it, who is a legend, and Simon Pegg, and
I think it did that Irish character well.
Yes.
One
Because
thing
we all know that guy.
Yeah. One thing I always remembered from Black Books was the bit where Bernard and what do you call a girl?
Oh, fuck! I really like her as well. Oh, it's gonna come to me.
Well, they were coming back to the shop once and they're both really drunk, and she said, "Sing us one of your wonderful Irish songs." And I just remember him going, "Oh, and the English are all bollocks."
I'm a prostitute from Newry.
I was like, we should put that on, like, we should start singing that as like the national anthem.
Yeah.
Get that one there, never mind any of this 12 nonsense.
Oh, he was so good. She's really good as well. And I remember watching an interview with her, and she was saying she was really felt out of her depth because she's a comedic actor, whereas Bill Bailey and Dylan Moran are actual comedians, and so they're coming at it from a completely different perspective. Which is interesting, because I mean they definitely have acting chops, the two of them, and they were just so good together. Yeah. The way they played off each other was just so good. But then I think anything Graham Linehan wrote was just absolutely fantastic. I suppose there's a lot of that sort of YouTube and TikTok
Yeah,
stuff.
I think we consume things differently, so it's like the way I would see it, it's not getting to me.
And I do enjoy a good sketch show. I mean, you can't, like, a bit of Fry and Laurie. Like, all of that was just fucking incredible.
I think a lot of the sketch shows and stuff that I would know would have been those sort of like Channel 4 things that was like, they were very off the time, but I think comedy at that time was very reflective of the political situation.
Now nobody knows what the fucking political situation
There was like a
is.
thing there, they were like, this is who we're taking the piss out of, this is who we're making fun of.
There's also an element of, like, I think people are afraid to say stuff now because nobody knows what's socially acceptable and what's not anymore.
Yeah.
There is a bit of that going on. And, like, I don't know if that maybe this is in my own little echo chamber that it seems worse than it is to me. And that other people aren't having this issue at all. But I do kind of find that this...
I think though, what I always sort of find is that the worry is greater than the issue.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think
sometimes just say it and see what happens.
And I think people tend to like overanalyze things. Whereas generally I think people can tell how things are meant.
Yeah. I suppose that's a bit more of an internet issue, really. So, I mean, if you're projecting yourself out into the internet, maybe you'll come across it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because people are behind computers, they're not looking at another human face to face. You have
and
a very different
reaction.
reaction.
Tend to live in that, like what you were saying, like echo chamber of the internet a wee bit, like everything's terrible or everything's great or everybody hates me, or like then you're like stuck in that wee thing where like it feels...
It's okay to disagree, guys.
Just what I mean,
It's
like, I think
okay.
everything feels worse than it really is, whereas if we all just came outside, we'd be okay.
They're not all baby Satanists.
If we all just came outside, we'd be fine.
Bit of sunshine. That's what you need your AI mum to tell you, to go outside and play.
That's
with the
it,
lads.
just turn it off. Or we
Yeah.
I don't have the electricity to begin.
Changing the internet password. That would be good, actually, if AI could do anything. I think an AI mum to like monitor your mental health and just change the password until you're feeling better.
I've been looking at this.
And then send you for fucking exercise.
That's enough. Go outside. Like, that's what my mom used to do. That was my mom's level of parenting. Just go outside.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. You know, go get some fucking fresh air. Okay, so I ask everybody this question. Why do you think performance is important? And if so, why?
I think it's important for not just the individual. I think it's important for some people can find it very important. Like, I find it quite important because it's how I make sense of what I think of something sometimes.
You kind of go through it and write it
like
and then
how,
perform
and I
it.
do think there is, like, what you were saying earlier might be some of my jokes maybe being a bit, ooh. There is an aspect of it that's therapy.
Yeah.
Like, if you can look at those.
Do you like watch those reactions and go, oh, okay, maybe that's the bit I need therapy for?
Too much.
Not enough.
That's the sort of, maybe there's some things there that I need to work through, but finding the humour in them is part of that.
Yeah.
And so I think for people that do it, it's incredibly important to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And do
think
you think it's important on a societal level?
Yeah, because I think it also, like, works as a bigger thing. I think it's how we make sense of ourselves.
We're reflecting the weirdness in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we didn't like do things, performance or other art forms that.
Yeah, I suppose and there's that representation thing as well. Like, when you get up, you are a woman of a particular age, of a particular demographic, and all other women of that age and demographic are going to see a little bit of themselves in you.
Yeah.
And so if you're expressing things that are a bit embarrassing or a bit cringe or a bit, and making them funny.
Yeah, and I think, so I think if we don't do that as a society, as a thing, we're sort of not existing. We're just kind of like moving around.
Pretending. We all got our little masks on.
We're not sort of like,
yeah.
Are we really experiencing life if we can't analyse it or make something of it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that.
That might have been a bit much.
Ooh,
Are we not experiencing life if we can't analyse it?
Real.
Yeah, because I just think if you're not, it's sort of that mimicry, if that's probably not the best word, of life, if you don't do that, then...
Yeah. Well, there's that sort of like, I do wonder about the way people are now. That there's a lot of people where you're like, well, you're just that character from TV. Do you know, like, who's the real you if that character had never existed? Like, who would you have been?
There's a lot of people, there's a lot of times I sort of be like, especially socially in groups, I'm like, why is everyone pretending that they're on a reality show?
Yeah! Everyone's got fucking, what do they call it? Main character energy.
Like, why is everyone pretending like this is being viewed by somebody else?
There's even one woman I saw, was she on TikTok, or somebody asked a question, she was like, oh yeah, I always like look at one of those hidden cameras like I'm on one of those shows, the mockumentaries, and I'm like, there's no fucking camera there. What is wrong with you?
We've lost our minds.
Although there was there's a security guard that said there used to be cameras in classrooms in this particular school he worked at, and this one kid, whenever the teacher said something stupid, would look at the camera, and he fucking loved it because it was like watching a show.
That is great. That is going to be like a modern tick.
Yeah.
It's going to be like
I
a
don't
new
even know where
thing.
the cameras would be. Like,
I feel like they're low, aren't they?
But there is that main character energy for a lot of people. And the problem I have with that is you're supposed to buy into it. You're supposed to treat them like they're the main character. And I'm like, in my show, I would be the
I'm the main character.
Actually, I don't know if I'd be the main character in my show. I mean, like,
no. No, but you're supporting cast, but you're the character everyone likes. That's what I like. That's how I assume. I was supporting, but I'm like the
most
character
of the time I'm
likes.
backstage doing my own thing. Like
I was having like it's strange you talking about that, like people taking all the energy of a character. I was talking to my boyfriend recently, and he was like, "Well, if you were a cartoon character, who would you be?" And I was,
that's a good question.
And I was like,
if I was a worm, would you love me?
I was like, I feel like I might be Pinky. And then I was sort of like, Nate. I looked at some Pinky things.
That was the most Northern Irish name ever.
It feels like such a me energy. Like if I was like so ironic, and there's like all these wee memes, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I am Pinky. And I loved Pinky as a child. I was like, how much have I taken on those wee, because there was like just the sort of like wee mannerisms of it and stuff like that, where it's like, and I was like, I do that. And it's like, and then it's sort of personality type where I'm sort of like,
if you asked other people, would
easily
they say
grumpy.
Pinky?
I feel like I'm like,
Do you like communicate like that sometimes? This is what happens.
And I feel like, and yeah, he was like, yeah, you've definitely got Pinky energy.
I don't know who I'd be if I were a cartoon character. Who would I be if I were a cartoon character?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
A friend of mine said Taz once.
Taz is a good one.
Yeah, because he said I'd just come into a room and go,
I think is absolutely like Taz.
Who?
Adam Lachlan.
I don't know Adam Lachlan.
Have you not met Adam?
No, I've heard his name so many times mentioned by so many people, but I haven't actually met him yet.
He looks like him. Somebody else said, I can't remember who, and I was like,
does he have Taz energy as well?
He's
just
got definite
spins and
Taz
breaks
energy.
things. Love that. I think there's a lot of ADHD in the old stand-up community, for sure.
I can
A lot of
like,
neurodivergence.
yeah, I can see why as well, because it's sort of, it's a very,
It's got enough novelty. It's got just about enough novelty.
it's a very internal thing, very lonely sort of thing, very,
Yeah.
so I can see why,
All us sad loners.
yeah, people that maybe wouldn't have been always fitted in can be attracted to it.
And I suppose if you do stand out quite a lot, and this is a lot of performers I know have always stood out in one way or another, and they've just sort of harnessed that energy and put it into performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of going, I want to stand out, they're like, well, I already fucking do. So.
Well, yeah, I've sort of always said that my only real true skill is humour.
That's really sad. Like no other skill.
I don't really think I do. Like not real talents. Like I'm not like a good welder or anything. I really don't think I do. And
Nothing
but
that
like,
translates.
just my real good like actual skill is like being funny. It's like my true thing.
It's your calling.
But I do think that's born from not fitting in, and I'm like, you know, if someone said something mean to you, if you could say something meaner and funnier, you won. And I think that's what it's like.
There was a guy years ago as a teenager, and he was just so mean to me all the time, but I always took it as like a bit of a challenge. He'd say something mean, I'd say something mean.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny. And then my boyfriend at the time was like, oh, so-and-so thinks that you hate him. And I was like, he says shitty things to me all the fucking time. What am I supposed to say back? Oh, you're lovely. You know,
I love you.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yeah, so I think that's true. I do think that's
Yeah.
true. I think we're the, like...
And you got to be able to laugh at yourself. I think if you do stand out and you are a bit of a weirdo and you're not the person who fits in, you got to be able to laugh at yourself for your own mental health.
I think if you fit in all the time, it's a hard thing
to break out,
to
do something different.
I was like, you know, people go, well, that's very brave doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
In the room. I'm like,
it's not fucking firefighting.
like, not being laughed at or being laughed at is...
Yeah.
No, I have more trauma trying to pay for stuff at a checkout.
Making a phone call. Oh man, this
No,
whole
not a
doctor's
phone call.
fucking first thing in the morning phone calls just have me in bits.
No.
I've literally cried at them on mornings, just crying, just
Too stressful. Too stressful. So I think maybe it's like if that's sort of your adolescent experience, then the stand-up thing doesn't feel too bad.
Yeah. I do think, like, I have a lot of respect for people who do it for the first time. Watching people get up for the first time and then you remember how fucking hard it was.
Yeah.
Because, like, the getting up is not bad, and then you're standing there and you go, oh. And all of the feelings
Like, people
flood.
would always say to me, do you still get nervous? And I was like, yeah, I don't think that ever leaves you. Like,
I think once it leaves you, you probably want to be doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not like nerves, like, to the point where I'd be, like, so scared. But that sort of tension, I think, is good. Like, you want to be before you're going on a wee bit, like, alright.
Yeah.
Do you know? Because if you're just like, oh, that'll be fucking great. Like, that's when it's going to go really badly.
Yeah.
I think. Like, that's when it...
You've gotten complacent.
Yeah, I feel like
And there's
you don't
always
care
somewhere better to go. And I think if you have gotten complacent, you're not trying anything new.
then. Yeah.
And in the circus community, we have a saying, if you're not dropping, you're not trying.
Yeah.
So if you're juggling balls and you land every single trick, you're not making any effort. Like, obviously, that's your act. Great. But when you're training, you need to be dropping. Because it means you're not trying anything new if you're not.
Yeah.
And somebody will overtake you. And the thing is, like, we have so many comedians now as well that the art itself is going to continue growing and getting better and getting bigger. So if you don't keep up with that, you just get lost in the fray. Like, well, that was an absolutely lovely conversation.
That was lovely. I
Thank
felt like that
you.
was a nice end.
Yeah.
That was very sweet.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
it was
you
an
for having me.
absolute
That was
delight.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you would like to support the podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Renegade Context and go to renegadecontext.com for any other episodes or updates. I'll see you at the next one.